In a cozy suburban neighborhood filled with friendly faces and colorful yards, Karen was known for being a bit peculiar. She lived in a cheerful blue house with vibrant flower beds, always keeping her yard immaculate. Every weekend, families gathered in their backyards, firing up their grills and filling the air with mouth-watering aromas of ribs, burgers, and hot dogs. The sound of laughter floated through the streets as neighbors enjoyed sunny afternoons, sharing stories and good food. Karen, however, often felt out of place amidst these joy-filled gatherings. While others relished the smoky scents wafting from their neighbors' grills, she found herself frowning at the thought of lingering odors invading her space. She believed that the smell was not just unpleasant but also posed potential health risks. To Karen, every whiff brought on feelings of distress that clouded her weekends. Though her neighbors loved the barbecue tradition and viewed it as part of the community spirit, Karen began to feel increasingly isolated in her concerns. She would often peer over her fence at the bustling parties next door, wishing for peace and quiet instead of sizzling sounds and savory smells. This tension brewed within her until she decided to take action, leading to events that would soon turn her life upside down. Little did she know that her quest for tranquility would spark quite the stir in the close-knit community. As the weekends rolled around, the delightful sounds of sizzling meat and cheerful chatter from neighboring backyards deepened Karen's feelings of unease. While families gathered to enjoy their barbecue feasts, Karen found herself unable to join in the fun. Instead of savoring the smells that filled the air, she was overwhelmed by a sense of dread. To her, the aroma of ribs and burgers was not just a reminder of festivities but a constant source of worry. Karen firmly believed that those enticing scents masked potential health risks. She thought about smoke inhalation and how it might affect her lungs or allergies. Each whiff felt like an invasion of her personal space, triggering feelings of anxiety and frustration. As she sat in her yard, trying to enjoy her own quiet time, the sounds and smells from next door became unbearable. Determined to take a stand, Karen started jotting down her thoughts on paper. She envisioned presenting her case as a serious health concern, one that could make waves beyond her neighborhood. This belief fueled her resolve to challenge what she perceived as a growing problem. In her mind, it was not just about the BBQs, it was about protecting herself from what she saw as an environmental hazard. Little did she know that her passion for clean air would soon lead to surprising consequences in her community, setting off events that would change everything for Karen and her neighbors. As the weekends passed, Karen's discomfort grew stronger, turning her initial annoyance into deep emotional distress. The sounds of laughter and sizzling meat became a constant reminder of the joy she felt excluded from. Each time her neighbors fired up their grills, she felt a wave of frustration wash over her, making it hard to relax in her own backyard. The smell of the barbecue seeped into her home, clinging to her clothes and filling her living space with an aroma that triggered her anxiety. Her daily life began to revolve around these feelings. Karen struggled to focus on her hobbies and even found it difficult to enjoy quiet moments with a book or a cup of tea. Instead, she would pace around her house, glancing out the window as families laughed and feasted just beyond her fence. The more she thought about the smells and sounds, the more isolated she felt from the community she once loved. Driven by mounting frustration, Karen decided that enough was enough. She started drafting a letter outlining her grievances, convinced that she could challenge what she considered an uncomfortable and unhealthy situation. The idea of taking legal action stirred a mix of emotions within her, fear of judgment but also a sense of empowerment. She believed that fighting for her rights would not only address her distress but also send a message to others who might feel similarly trapped in their own homes. What began as a personal battle soon shifted into a quest for validation in a world filled with barbecue joy that she simply could not embrace. With her resolve strengthening, Karen embarked on the process of filing a lawsuit for emotional distress against her neighbor. She began by researching local laws and consulting with a lawyer who specialized in such cases. During their meetings, Karen passionately explained her grievances, detailing how the barbecue smells invaded her home and triggered her anxiety. Her lawyer listened intently, guiding her through the necessary steps to move forward. First, Karen gathered evidence to support her claims. She recorded the dates and times of the BBQs, noting how often they occurred and how long the smells lingered in her yard. She even documented her emotional responses in a journal, expressing her feelings of isolation and frustration. With each entry, she became more convinced that her case had merit. Next, Karen filled out the required legal forms and submitted her lawsuit to the local court. As she awaited a response, her anticipation grew, mixing excitement with nervousness. She imagined herself standing before the judge, presenting her argument with confidence. However, as news of her lawsuit spread through the neighborhood, reactions varied widely. Some neighbors supported her stance, while others found it hard to understand her perspective. Despite this division, Karen remained focused on her mission, believing that her fight was about more than just barbecue odors, it was about standing up for what she felt was right. As the court date approached, she steeled herself for the challenge ahead, unaware of how this decision would change not only her life but also the dynamics of her entire community. The day of the court hearing arrived, and Karen felt a mix of anticipation and nerves swirling inside her. As she entered the courtroom, her heart raced, and her palms grew sweaty. She had prepared for this moment for weeks, rehearsing her statements in front of a mirror and imagining how she would convey her feelings to the judge. Yet, the reality of the situation felt daunting. The courtroom was bustling with activity, lawyers huddled around tables, and onlookers whispered as they took their seats. Karen took a deep breath, scanning the room until her gaze landed on the judge, who was shuffling through papers at his desk. She reminded herself of her purpose and the importance of addressing her concerns about the barbecue smells that plagued her daily life. When it was finally her turn to speak, Karen approached the podium with shaky legs but determined resolve. As she began to present her case, she recounted how the odors affected her emotional well-being. She detailed incidents where she felt trapped in her own home and emphasized the health risks she believed were posed by secondhand smoke from her neighbors' grilling. However, as she spoke, she noticed the judge's expression shift from interest to disbelief. Just as she finished laying out her arguments, he leaned back in his chair and chuckled, a sound that echoed through the quiet courtroom. Confusion washed over Karen as she stood there, unsure if he understood the depth of her distress or if he simply found it amusing. The laughter sent a wave of embarrassment coursing through her. This was not how she envisioned this crucial moment playing out. As Karen stood at the podium, her heart raced as she detailed her emotional struggles stemming from the persistent barbecue smells. The courtroom was filled with a mixture of curious onlookers and legal professionals, all listening intently to her story. Just when she thought she was making headway, the judge leaned back in his chair, a bemused expression creeping across his face. "Are you serious?" he asked, a chuckle escaping his lips. The sound echoed off the walls and filled the room with an unexpected lightness that contrasted sharply with Karen's anxiety. She paused mid-sentence, her words hanging in the air as confusion washed over her. How could he find humor in her distress? The judge continued to laugh softly, shaking his head as he glanced around the courtroom. "I must admit, I've never had someone claim that barbecue smoke is a health hazard before," he said with a grin, attempting to lighten the mood but inadvertently deepening Karen's embarrassment. This reaction was not what she had prepared for. It felt as if her concerns were being dismissed entirely. As laughter rippled through the crowd, Karen's cheeks flushed bright red. The moment felt surreal. This was supposed to be a serious hearing about her emotional pain and struggle for peace in her home. Instead, it had turned into an unexpected comedy show, leaving her feeling more vulnerable than ever. In that instant, all of Karen's determination seemed to freeze, overshadowed by the unmistakable reality that few understood her plight. In the wake of Karen's courtroom experience, the atmosphere in the neighborhood began to shift. News of her lawsuit and the judge's reaction spread quickly among residents, becoming a popular topic of conversation. The Homeowners Association, HOA, sensing the growing divide in opinions about BBQs, decided it was time to take action. They scheduled a meeting to discuss the future of grilling in their community. The HOA members gathered, some laughing at the absurdity of Karen's claims while others felt sympathy for her plight. After much discussion, they recognized that many families cherished their weekend barbecue traditions and viewed them as an essential part of community life. To ensure harmony and avoid further disputes, they introduced a new rule that formally allowed grilling in backyards, reinforcing the idea that cooking outdoors was a cherished right. When the announcement was made, neighbors celebrated with excitement, eager to continue their BBQs without fear of complaints. They saw this decision as a victory, not just for themselves but also as a light-hearted response to Karen's legal battle. The community rallied together, planning more BBQs than ever before, sharing recipes and laughter as they grilled under the warm sun. Meanwhile, Karen found herself increasingly marginalized. The new rule not only validated her neighbors' traditions but also highlighted her struggle in a way that felt isolating. As barbecue smoke wafted through the air once more, it became clear that she had become the punchline of local jokes, her fight for peace overshadowed by the community's desire to celebrate their love for grilled food. The community's reaction to both Karen's lawsuit and the HOA's decision was a whirlwind of excitement and playful banter. As soon as the news broke that grilling was officially allowed, neighbors began to gather in their yards, firing up their grills with renewed enthusiasm. The sweet scent of barbecue wafted through the air, mingling with laughter and chatter, while families celebrated the victory together. They joked about hosting Karen-free BBQs, where the smell of ribs and burgers could fill the air without consequence. Friendly teasing circulated as well, with some neighbors playfully suggesting they should invite Karen over for a barbecue to help her understand the joys of grilling. "We'll make sure to light up the grill just for you, Karen," one neighbor called out with a chuckle, prompting laughter from others. While most jokes were light-hearted, they highlighted how out of place she had become within her own community. Despite the camaraderie among her neighbors, this teasing stung. Karen watched from her yard as families bonded over barbecues while she felt increasingly isolated. Her attempts to voice her concerns now seemed ludicrous in light of the new rule, making it difficult for her to be taken seriously. The very community she once cherished became a source of pain, a reminder of her fight that had turned into an awkward punchline that overshadowed her quest for peace. It was in this atmosphere that Karen realized the uphill battle she had ahead if she wished to reclaim her sense of belonging amidst the barbecue smoke and laughter that now defined her neighborhood. As news of Karen's lawsuit and the subsequent ruling spread through the town, local news stations quickly picked up on the story. What had begun as a serious legal struggle turned into an unexpected slice of Americana that reporters couldn't resist. The phrase, "barbecue drama in suburbia," became a buzzword, capturing viewers' attention and curiosity. Reporters flocked to Karen's neighborhood, eager to interview both her and her neighbors about the peculiar situation. They set up cameras around gardens adorned with grills, capturing scenes of families joyously barbecuing right next to her home. The contrast was stark, the laughter and happy chatter from one yard, with Karen's somber presence in her own. During a humorous news segment, one reporter quipped about the neighborly smell of success versus the odor of emotional distress, as they showed clips of families grilling while Karen sat in her yard, looking exasperated. The segment went viral almost instantly, with community members sharing it widely on social media. It became a light-hearted representation of suburban life, but for Karen, it felt like a double-edged sword. While many viewers enjoyed the humor and shared their own barbecue stories, Karen found herself even more isolated. The once serious nature of her plight had transformed into entertainment fodder. It stung to see her struggle reduced to a punchline, reinforcing her feelings of exclusion from the very community she longed to be part of. As headlines floated across people's screens, it was clear, Karen had become the unintended star of a comedy show about neighborhood dynamics, leaving her to wonder where she fit in amid all the laughter. In the aftermath of Karen's experience, the neighborhood found itself more united than ever, as laughter and shared stories about BBQs brought families closer together. The introduction of the HOA's grilling rule transformed the atmosphere into one of celebration, reinforcing long-standing traditions that had defined their community. Neighbors banded together, hosting block parties and weekend cookouts, relishing the smells of grilled burgers and ribs wafting through the air. While Karen's struggle had initially created a rift, it ironically sparked a renewed appreciation for their community spirit. People took time to recognize the joy in simple moments, friends gathering around a grill, children playing in yards filled with laughter, and families sharing meals under the stars. The humor surrounding her lawsuit became a light-hearted reminder that life is often too short to take seriously. Yet, amid this camaraderie, Karen remained on the sidelines, feeling like an outsider looking in. While her neighbors embraced the joy of communal living, she reflected on how essential it is to find common ground, even during disagreements. This incident highlighted that while serious issues deserve attention, sometimes humor can bridge divides and foster connections. As barbecue smoke filled the air and laughter echoed through the streets, it became evident that community bonds are often strengthened through shared experiences, even those that may not end up as one desires. In learning to celebrate each other's differences, neighbors discovered that embracing lightheartedness amidst conflict can nourish friendships and create lasting memories for years to come.